Welcome back, you're here with Big Mush 9000, and today I'm doing a video for those just beginning their mushroom cultivation journey, and we are looking at the tools the beginning cultivator might need to begin growing mushrooms at home, just like the ones you see on your screen right now. I hope you get a lot of use out of this video, and I hope it demystifies the process of growing mushrooms at home, at least where equipment is concerned. But before we do that, I want to talk briefly about why we use specialised tools and equipment as mushroom cultivators, and that's to avoid what you're looking at right now on your screen. Filthy, disgusting contamination. It wrecks your growing and it causes all sorts of frustrations, at least for me it does, and it can really hinder the enjoyment of the process. And who needs that? I love growing mushrooms and you will too, provided we take a few steps, and that's why we use the tools in this video. So let's get right into it. Let's grow some mushrooms. Let's check out the tools we need to begin. Look at that, what a confusing mess. A random assemblage of things. Who knows what any of this is? They're all mushroom growing tools, but where would you even begin? So to simplify things a little bit, I've broken this video up into 4 chapters. Maintaining sterility, grain and liquid culture jars, essential random miscellaneous items, and fruiting containers. Maintaining sterility. All right, gloves. Every task begins with gloves, and they're the thing I probably go through the most. They form a barrier between your hands and your work, and they play a crucial role in preventing contamination. Next, we're looking at probably the most important piece of equipment for any mushroom home cultivator, and that's a pressure cooker. A pressure cooker allows you to sterilize and pasteurize all your grains and substrate and anything that's going to be receiving a live culture. It does this by heating up and forcing steam into all the deep nooks and crannies, and it's really an indispensable piece of kit. You don't need a really big one like I have here. Smaller ones will suffice, so long as they can reach 15 psi, or around 105 kilopascals. I love my pressure cooker and I use it for every single grow. Next up, we're looking at a still air box. This is a very simple and cost-effective device that enables you to work within a largely sterile environment. It's one of the most cost-effective ways to do home mycology or mushroom cultivation, and no beginner cultivator's lab is complete without one. They really work, they're used the world over, and a lot of the techniques I discuss on my channel were pioneered inside a still air box. You don't need a fancy flow hood or filter fan unit to do good mycology at home. Get yourself a still air box and save yourself a little bit of money. Another indispensable piece of kit for any mushroom home cultivator is 70% isopropyl alcohol. Isopropyl alcohol allows the cultivator to sterilize any surfaces, the outside of jars, as well as sterilizing hands, still air boxes, really anything that can't be sterilized inside of a pressure cooker. After gloves, isopropyl alcohol is probably what I use the most, what I find myself replacing the most. It's really an important part of my home lab, and I reckon it'll be an important part of yours. Use liberally and keep that contamination away from your cultivation. Another necessary tool for maintaining sterility is a small blowtorch or jet lighter. This tool allows the cultivator to sterilize syringes and tools between processes. Again, it's something I use every grow, and it has a place in every mushroom cultivator's lab. They're pretty cheap and they'll save you a lot of heartache. No one wants to contaminate their clean culture right at the finish line. Alright, grain and liquid culture jars. Here we can see a grain spawn jar, and here are a couple of others. And here we can see a liquid culture jar. These are super easy to make and only require a few items which are easily found on the internet. We simply need some jars, plastic lids. Metal's okay, but it does tend to rust. We'll also need some self-healing silicone injection ports, some micropore tape, and for liquid culture jars, we need PTFE 0.22 micron syringe filters. I like using syringe filters for liquid culture jars because if they get wet, they're not going to wick in any contamination from outside. The first time I made a liquid culture jar, I used micropore tape, It got wet and it contaminated pretty quickly after that. Also very useful is some heavy duty aluminium foil. We use this to cover the filter on grain spawn jars during pressure cooking. This stops any condensation from wetting the filter, and it also makes a pretty useful BRF cake lid. Other essential items. Well, we can't grow mushrooms without culture. This website you see on the screen now, sporeswaps.com, is a great place to get all manner of gourmet, medicinal and functional mushroom cultures. I've bought culture from various vendors from this website, and they've always arrived clean and sterile, and I've never really had any problems with any of the culture. I can't recommend them enough. Check them out. Once you have your nice clean culture, you're going to want to expand it out, and for this we need syringes and needles. Syringes and needles allow you to inoculate a nutritious broth with culture to make a liquid culture solution, from which you can make liquid culture syringes of your own, which you can then use to inoculate your sterile grains. Being able to manufacture your own liquid culture syringes means contamination isn't going to be the end of the world, saving you the agony of going back to square one. I like a longer needle that's around 18 gauge. That'll let you make liquid culture syringes without too much fuss. They're essential for every home mushroom cultivator. Mycelium, from which mushrooms will eventually grow, require nutrition just like every other life form around us. To provide this nutrition, mushroom cultivators use a variety of grains with which to supply the nutrition to the mycelium. Rye, popcorn, and brown rice are some of the most popular grains used by home mushroom cultivators, but other grains like sorghum and barley are also favoured. My personal favourite is brown rice. It colonises really quickly and it's really easy to prepare. Try a few out and see what works for you. Once the time comes, you'll start thinking about a substrate from which you'll eventually fruit your mushrooms. By far the most common materials used for this are cocoa coir, vermiculite and gypsum. Together with water, these materials make what's known as CVG. Your mushrooms love it. Alternatively, brown rice flour, vermiculite and some gypsum make a great beginner substrate as seen in the PF Tech and are used to make what are known as BRF cakes. I love this method of mushroom cultivation. It's where I got my start and I still make BRF cakes to this day. Though not strictly necessary, a variety of mixing and measuring bowls and flasks make mushroom cultivation much easier. If you're mixing up BRF cakes, measuring out gypsum or certain nutritional additives, they really do come in handy. Also, a big pot is really useful for boiling grains and pasteurising the CVG we spoke about earlier. As well as this, I find my colander or strainer very useful. It helps me to strain my grains once they finish simmering, and it's something I use every time I start a new grow. And as well as this, I always keep a couple of scales handy. I like to sometimes measure out the moisture content of my grains after they've been soaked, and I use them when I really need to get an accurate weight of certain ingredients. Alright, the time has come to finally fruit some mushrooms. There's 1,000,001 ways to do this, ranging from monotubs, Martha tents, even automatic fruiting chambers. But for the beginning cultivator, something like a shotgun terrarium or even a shoebox provide a really cost-effective and simple way to fruit out some mushrooms. And for these, we just need a variety of plastic tubs. But like I said, there are many ways to do this. So experiment, try a few different methods out, find something that works for you, and with that in mind, check this out. So if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Hit the like and subscribe button if this video has helped you out, and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy, guys. Cheers.